whether I was celebrating the New Year with locals in Vietnam, or cheering on a soccer match in Mexico, meditating in an Arab settlement in the deserts of Israel, every chapter of my travels was rich with human interaction. And that's what shaped and elevated every experience. It was never the hike or the meal or the big event. It was always the people I was sharing it with, even if we had only just met. So that first plane ticket turned into a research journey through 20 countries, and this accidental discovery of some of the truths about community. How they start, what makes them tick, how people engage, the power of meaningful, intentional connection. And my wild adventure sparked new friendships, powerful conversations, and a deeper grasp of this thing called social capital. Have you heard of this? Social capital is like the bedrock, the thing that makes us all thrive. It's the foundation of every successful relationship, every successful company around the world. And everywhere I went, this idea of community was reaffirmed. And this whole concept of life being a +1 experience was also reaffirmed everywhere that I landed, including when I landed in France. Now, when you think of France, you might think of the Eiffel Tower, or maybe you think of fresh baguettes and cheese. When I landed in Paris, my first stop had nothing to do with either of those. It was actually at a McDonald's, because it was the first familiar place I was guaranteed to find a clean restroom. So I landed, I go over to this McDonald's. Now, we all know that there are McDonald's everywhere, all around the world. They are predictable, almost always open, and always busy. So I walk into this McDonald's, and it is empty. Completely empty. Kind of creepy, right? And it was around 10 a.m. on a weekday morning. Street was bustling outside, but this McDonald's was deserted. Have you ever seen an empty McDonald's? Is that a thing here? Because I know if I walk into any of the 250 McDonald's in New York City, anytime, day or night, there will be at least a handful of people in there. So honestly, standing here in an empty McDonald's in this foreign country kind of felt like the end of the world was coming. You want to know what I found out? In France, eating is something you do together. It's seen as a communal activity. And the French, for the most part, still eat 3 meals a day at set times together. They see it as a shared experience. Even when fast food options started opening up in the country in the 1960s and 70s, the French, for the most part, still stuck to their customary meal times. Which is why this McDonald's was empty at 10 a.m. and why I didn't see a single 24-hour McDonald's in all of Paris. In fact, as I continued walking through the city, I started to realize no locals were walking around while eating or drinking anything. And I had never really thought of this as a cultural thing before, but how often do we just grab a coffee or a donut on our way to work? For many of us, that single serving is a regular part of our everyday. Why not? I mean, it's convenient, it goes with our fast-paced, productive lifestyle. Except if you think about it, it's actually really individualistic. It removes us from our environment and cuts us off from connection. And maybe I came by this one naturally, but I grew up in a household where nobody eats alone. And to this day, if I go and visit my mom and I make myself something to eat, she will stop whatever she's doing and sit down with me. I didn't see a single local in France walking around with a coffee in one hand and a croissant in the other. For the French, they would rather sit down and savor, with friends, with family, and with coworkers. Sounds luxurious, right? How many times did you eat your lunch alone this week? Show of hands if it was more than 0 times. More than once? More than twice? Yeah, for most of us, it's the societal norm. It's what we do, right? We power through our lunch, we work through, sit at our desk. Maybe we catch up on social media or our personal stuff. In France, 80% of meals are eaten together. 80%. They sit down and savor with friends, with families, and with coworkers. And I know that sounds luxurious. There's actually some serious benefits worth talking about. When we sit down and share a meal with our colleagues, it actually leads to an increase in productivity, so you actually get more done, even though you're not powering through your lunch. Way better rapport with your coworkers, way better communication, and every company that has incorporated this, any person that incorporates this into their lives, sees an increase in joy and satisfaction where they work, across the board.